there is a conference. The speaker who states a negative statement or an interrogative statement applies the modal verb according to the intent of the speaker. The modal verb is the fourth sort of an adverb. So we can think of the collaboration
of the general verb exist and the preposition as
in the definition of the be verb. The definition of the be verb consists of a trait of a verb.
whose definition is the same as
The general verb exists, and the trait of an adverb, that is the preposition as, that is the fifth sort of an adverb. The be verb already includes the trait of an adverb in the definition.
that changes from describing the existence of the subject to the condition of the subject.
The specification by the adverb not to transform the statement into the negative statement. Takes on the direct way to specify the definition of the be verb. The speaker states a negative statement and an interrogative statement that a be verb is applied without the modal verb
Did, do, or does
from the inclusive
trait
of the be verb. The speaker applies the modal verb
did, do, does, or will
to state a clause that a general verb is applied as a verb, and the speaker states on a negative statement or an interrogative statement in a clause that the general verb is applied with a modal verb. In this page, we will study about the four modal verbs to emphasize the definition of the general verb primarily. Let's start to study about the definition of the modal verb before we study the modal verb in the fourth chapter about an adverb. Because the modal verb is frequently applied with a verb in a clause. The modal verbs did, do, does, and will describe the subject indirectly to describe the definition of the verb with a way to emphasize the definition of the verb. The third sort of the description, that is an adverb, is applied to specify on a description. So we can understand that the definition of an adverb is a description For the other description, there are three sorts of the descriptions. The first one is the verb. The second ones are the determiner and
An adjective.
the third sort of the descriptions is an adverb. So we can understand that the modal verb is applied to specify the definition of the verb, the first sort of the descriptions. We can also think of the role of the first sort of the description of verb to describe the subject. So we can think of the relationship. The adverb specifies the definition of a verb as
The first.
description, and the verb describes the subject. So we can understand that the modal verb describes the subject in the indirect way via the verb. Initially, the modal verb is applied to emphasize the definition of a verb. There is a clause. I do finish my homework. The modal verb do emphasizes the fact that the definition of the transitive verb finish actualizes at the present. The modal verb specifies the definition of the transitive verb finish, and the transitive verb finish describes the speaker as the subject. So we can understand that the modal verb do describes the speaker as the subject in the indirect way. As the modal verb do is applied ahead of the general verb in a statement, the speaker reveals the information about the subject in the form of the modal verb. As the prior information ahead of the verb in a clause. So we can understand that the modal verb did, do, does, or will may take on the
Second and third.
to reveal the tense of the clause and to reveal the number of the subject and whether the subject participates in the conversation among the speaker and the listeners. From this perspective, we can understand the application of the modal verb do. The modal verb do is applied to describe the speaker as the subject who participates in the conversation with the listeners.
At the present.
From the first classification of the subject. This is the third role of a verb, to reveal the number of the subject and whether the subject participates in the conversation with the listeners. And we can also accept the information about the tense revealed in this clause from the form of the modal verb do. The modal verb do reveals that the clause is stated in the present tense. Where is the second conference? The modal verb did to present the past tense. The modal verb did to present the past tense may allow the form of the general verb to stay in the original form because the modal verb did reveals the tense of the clause instead of the general verb. From the fact that the experience, condition, or action in the past is mentioned at the present when the conversation among the speaker and the listeners happens, and we can also understand that the experience, condition, or action in the past was not actualized at the present when the conversation happens. So the form of the general verb to describe the experience, condition, or action in the past does not reveal the information about the subject because the information about the subject in the clause from the form of the verb may be helpful and useful for the listeners who participate in the conversation with the speaker at the present.
In the same and lower priority than the statement about the present experience, condition, or action.
So we can also understand that the application of the modal verb did is interpreted in the same context with the form of the general verb to describe the experience, condition, or action in the past to be constant.
When the general verb describes
every subject, the form of the modal verb did is applied
with the same form of the general verb
to describe every subject. Let's study about the role. Number 1, to present the past tense. The modal verb did describes the general verb with an emphasis on the definition of the general verb to actualize in the past. There is a clause. I did finish my homework. The general verb stays in its original form, finish, because the modal verb did signifies that the definition of the general verb finish actualized in the past when the conversation with the speaker did not take place instead of the general verb. The information about the subject is helpful and useful for the listeners who collect the information in each clause. From the consideration that the listeners may put the priority of the clause stated in the past tense in the same order. from the standard that this clause is about the past. The form of the modal verb did reveals that this clause is stated in the past tense, and the speaker may apply the modal verb did to emphasize the definition of the transitive verb finish.